Skyclimbers is a procedurally generated city building, survival, and monster taming game that's going to make its way to Kickstarter on February 9th. As you'd expect, we're really starting to get some more information about the game leading up to this date, and with the recent story trailer that dropped Wednesday night being no exception. Throughout this video, I do plan on breaking down this new trailer using both information from the Skyclimbers Discord, as well as information revealed during the podcast interview I had with Justin that's planned for release on February 9th to coincide with the Kickstarter. This means that you'll be getting a little bit of a sneak peek for what's to come for the podcast, and hopefully this will act as an educational video to those who maybe don't know much about the game or haven't heard of it yet. Anyways, with all that being said, take a seat, relax, and let's dive right in. Okay, so the trailer can be broken down into two major segments, the first focusing more on the structures, scenery, and context of the world, and the second focuses more on the monsters themselves. As of such, we're going to break it down into two separate parts, so what I'll do is I'll play the first half of the trailer, then break it down bit by bit, then do the same for the second half. If you do want to see the trailer completely interrupted, I do recommend checking out the original linked video in the description, and subscribing to the Skyclimbers YouTube channel if it interests you. Alright, so here's the first half, and also keep in mind that this is a pre-alpha, and it already looks this good. Okay, so from the first 11 seconds, we're shown this planet, which is confirmed not to be Earth by Justin. I mean, there's a Saturn-looking planet behind it, so that just makes sense. What's really interesting about this shot, though, is that we're actually going to be able to travel between planets, and each planet will have its own procedurally generated world, and they'll be divided in such a way that you'll have like a cutscene to travel between the planets, like in a spaceship or whatever. Being a huge space nerd myself, I am very happy about this, especially given that asteroid belt creating the rings surrounding the second planet, or maybe it's a moon, I'm not too sure. Now, I don't think we'll be able to do anything specifically around the asteroid belt, but it is going to be pretty cool to see it from the ground. And perhaps the planet will have some extra events that take place if you're on that planet, where rare materials hit the Earth more often or something. Another thing of note is that the main planet seems to be very Earth-like, existing within the Goldilocks zone of its system, and same goes for the small planetoid. If you look very closely, they both seem to have water. Now, this is just a random thought, but given the different sizes of each planet, we could perhaps see different gravity levels, but that's all dependent on whether or not the planet is truly smaller, or if it's just a perspective eye trick that we got going on here. Maybe the second planet isn't actually small, it's just far away. Whichever is the case, I'm really looking forward to seeing the different unique attributes between the planets. So a few things to break down here, the first being the different types of architecture we see. There seems to be a wide array of inspiration, the first being from Eastern China, for example. And we do know that there will be several dynasties within the game, each of which will take inspiration from real-world cultures. I don't want to go too in-depth on dynasties just yet, because once a Kickstarter drops and we get more information on them, I'd like to actually give them their own separate video. Now that said, each dynasty does hail from a different region or biome that is quite different from the last, and that's what each of these shots is showcasing. First we get this area with the floating islands, then we get a grassy area, and then a mountainous area. Each area has a unique architecture to go alongside it, likely representing different dynasties. This is also likely showcasing what you personally could build, given the fact that the game has a large emphasis on city building. In the final sequence of events, we see a missile coming down from the distance, as well as this thick rhino boy that's being mounted, but more on the monster in a bit. Then we see this kingdom being hit by a missile. We see this happen multiple times to the same looking building. However, it doesn't appear to actually be the same building itself, given the scenery around it. This may indicate that it's some sort of special type of building that maybe you'll see scattered around the world, much like the shrines in Breath of the Wild, which is a major player regarding this game's influence. However, from what I know, that's more of a tone and aesthetic sort of thing. So I'm not sure if that sort of element's going to be implemented within the game or not. It's also very possible that they just happen to have used the same building for demonstrative purposes. There is one common thing between all the different shots though. We see the building get struck, then it glows right after. Now at first I thought that this was perhaps the visual effect that the game makes when selecting what to attack, but since it appears after, perhaps it has something to do with repairing or calling for help or something like that. Or maybe all of these buildings belong to the Shoi, a race of aliens with a vast array of technology, and when attacking these camps, these beacons go out to, like I said earlier, call for help. Now I don't know if this is necessarily someone else attacking the Shoi or if you're attacking the Shoi or what's going on, but we know from the podcast interview that I had, there's these aliens called the Shoi that are going up against the Void, which we will discuss in a little bit. The second half of the trailer showcases a few of the game's monsters, so let's showcase that first and then we'll jump into it. So here we see that mounts are of course going to be a thing, but more importantly, there are going to be these different types of mounts. Exploration won't be limited to just horseback riding or a similar type of travel, but instead we can expect air travel as well. Then we get a shot of Akiniko, this fox monster, or Sentius as they're referred to in game. Then we see the player mounted once again on this armored Sentius, and regarding the Sentius specifically, at first I thought that maybe this could be Kuma, but if you take an actual look at it, it clearly isn't. The designs don't match up well at all, and I'm also wondering if this is going to be one of the machine-based Sentius that you guys will learn about on the 9th when the podcast goes live. We get some more Sentius here, including Rayon and a stag, but we also get a very strange purple figure that crosses the screen. Now, it's very difficult to make out what exactly it is, as it appears for only a couple frames, but it looks like a person, or at least a very human-looking creature. Now, given what Justin has told me about the Shoi and the Void, I'm guessing that these are the Void, this purple entity that is somehow corrupting the land. That's something that you're going to have to go up against, and if you're not careful, it can end up corrupting your very own kingdoms and whatnot. Judging from what we see, I'm almost wondering if the Void is an actual sentient being rather than just an infection or a manifestation of malice or something like that. So a few things of note at the end here. Firstly, we get confirmation that my initial thoughts of the Sentius being a rhino are correct, so yay me. And more importantly, we see this piece of technology that's landed. It's similar in nature to the tech we see in space, and I wouldn't be surprised if you need to collect these in some sort of capacity to gain access to space travel. Justin has confirmed that these artifacts are from the Shoi, and my guess here is that the Shoi are friendly. This might sound like a stretch, but hear me out. I'm thinking that the blue glow indicates that whatever this thing is most likely a friendly being or an ally. It's seen moving slowly towards you alongside the very calm music and calm colors, and from a thematic and artistic perspective, it just seems that these are designed in a way to make them seem safe. It's not uncommon for games to use blue to represent good and red to represent evil. The other thing I could see is that perhaps you can go up against the Shoi because this game does bring in player choice as a main feature, so maybe you could be their enemy or their ally, and this is just showing you maybe the intended story path where you are their ally. Like I said, you guys are going to learn a lot more about this if you don't know what I'm talking about in the podcast, and listening to Justin explain everything is 10 times better than I ever could. He goes on in great detail about some of these systems, and it's very interesting. So finally, at the end, we of course see the Skyclimbers logo alongside the planet. Now overall, as a teaser trailer, I think this does a very good job of creating a sense of wonder, both with the very calm music and lack of any kind of dialogue. This teaser is basically challenging us to see if we can put together the pieces laid out, and honestly, covering it was a lot of fun. Now that said, I am predicting that we'll get a more streamlined trailer for the Kickstarter that sort of breaks down the various aspects and features of the game in such a way that after watching, the average person will have an exact idea on what they'll be doing, so definitely look forward to that. I really think it's coming. It just makes sense from a marketing perspective too, because if you're about to pledge to a game, it's good to know exactly what you'll be doing, and the teaser trailer is great, but it doesn't give you that idea just yet. But other than that, like I said, if you guys want to see more about Skyclimbers, check out the Skyclimbers YouTube channel. There's a couple more videos there which I recommend checking out if you haven't seen them already. And if you did enjoy this video, make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at GymLeaderEd, or you can come check out our Monster Tamer Discord. All links will be in the description. Until next time, peace.